to share my screen. Hold up. Hello, everybody. We are live breaking down the upcoming potential winter storm here for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and so we're going to be, taking a tour and seeing kind of what the upcoming pattern looks like as well. So come on in. As you can see, it's my YouTube. We're live here on YouTube and X. So come on in. Let's take a tour. Let's see what's going on and have some fun doing it, hopefully. So we're doing kind of in-depth weather analysis simplified here is kind of the idea. So we'll wait for people to come on in here and have some fun tracking. Let me open up chat here in YouTube and X. Add my thumbnail here for YouTube. How are we doing, everybody? How are we doing? Yes, we are. We're live, John. Let me get YouTube open. Again, we're live on YouTube and X, whatever platform is better for you. Yep, John, how we doing? Got YouTube locked down over there. All right. Alrighty. Let's get our pen tool cooking. Don't worry too much about model runs so far out. It's a long game. Ike, big boy, how are we doing? How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? What up, Tyler? How we doing? Alrighty. All right, let's get no, we got people filtering in here, but we'll ask questions. We cover everything almost multiple times anyway. So yes, let's have some fun tonight, Ike. How are we doing? Okay. Okay, so here's kind of what we got going on. First, we do have some light snow potential here. Notice we have a lot of on Friday. We have a lot of upper level energy that needs to move through. This big old trough that comes through here, way too progressive for any potential snow, but for a snowstorm. But there is going to be enough. This does turn into our Newfoundland big blizzard that I've been talking about on Twitter, but this is going to be a significant storm eventually. But before then, it's going to produce some light snow. It's almost a little bit. Let me slide back. You can pull up a NAM. Oh, oof, that's a rough look right there. But notice you do get some light snow to break out. Not quite really an inverted trough. So it's just developing low pressure system, and it kind of gets on the western edge a little bit. And there's still enough upper level energy as it's moving through, and just enough moisture to be able to get cooking here. So there will be a little bit of accumulation, maybe some very light accumulation to keep an eye on. Jesus, boy. Don't worry. I'll answer your questions. You don't need to repeat consistently. I will get to your questions if by first we always break down what's going on first. But yes, DC is in play. A short guy. I'm sorry, that's your username. I feel bad for you. Let me go back to GFS. Slide. Oh, here. I kind of want more of the full picture again. So this storm kind of will produce probably some light snow I guess it's a little bit a little not quite inverted trough, but there is going to be some light snow that does move over the area, so be on the lookout for that on Friday. That kind of sets up what happens though. I know I've been talking about it some briefly. Hold on. OCD. There we go. This Newfoundland blizzard, how this kind of plays out over here. So we're looking at this big old, the thing that stands out on on the screen is not only here, but we go right to here, right here. This big old blizzard right here. Um, and one thing I suspect that models might be doing, I could be wrong, but I think models possibly are over amplifying the system a little bit too much, and possibly strengthening it too much, causing the confluence to be greater. So I think there's room for that to come north. How much more? Hard to say. But a confluence piece is always volatile. And what am I talking about when I talk about a confluence piece? It's this right here. I had a question, about the block. The confluence is different from, the block, so to say. This kind of works as its own, little block by itself. This confluence piece right here, the cold air is set in out in front of it. You do have your big old Greenland block up here, but this is a confluence piece that works to shunt and suppress the system. The question is how much. Now, if this confluence decides to kick out a little bit earlier, then that can allow the system to gain further north in latitude, and also potentially be able to not shear out as much, be able to hold more moisture in, and maybe be a little bit stronger too, potentially. I don't know how much. It would depend on actually when our energy comes ashore and how fast the storm actually gets moved. Because the GFS, one thing that we saw happen tonight was on the 0Z compared to the 18Z. I will say the GFS is all over the place. The GFS is absolutely kind of all over the place. That would it was going back and forth like crazy all around. I mean, in general, it moved. Consensus models have moved north today, but you can see this 6Z, 12Z, 18Z, OZ, and you can see all over the place. And there was a massive shift. Not even necessarily the confluence, even though there was a little bit of a shift. Um, there was a little bit of a push south on that run for the confluence, just barely, just a tick. But the energy and where it resolved, the upper level energy out here at 500 millibars, was significantly more tucked and further south, a little just in general, even compared to just the 18Z. So the energy profile was different as well. So when I see models struggling to even handle the strength of the storm in the plains, as it's coming on the west coast, and models still struggling with that, that's a red flag right away for um, potential changes. I just think models are really struggling to be able to identify that, and it wouldn't matter the setup. A confluence piece like we have here, models will always kind of screw with that back and forth. But in regards to the this Newfoundland blizzard and how this plays out, a lot of times models, if you ever notice in that 5 6 day range, sometimes even within the even closer, not even, just all the way, sometimes even leading up to the event, especially with stacked. So meaning, remember we talked about in the atmosphere, uh, here's your vertical column, and here's the top of your atmosphere. Here's, let's say 500 right here, the upper levels, 700, 850 surface. So when you have a storm that stacks from these levels, that means you usually have a real strong storm at hand, which this is. Obviously it's gonna really be an impactful storm for them, which we don't track there because they have their own people that do that. But it plays a huge part in the pattern. And one thing I suspect is models tend to really time when they stack storms. They like to hold a stall kind of, and oftentimes it's overdone. I remember it even with the blizzard of 2022, models really over amplifying that one. And um, just as an example, not every storm is perfect, and stalling, and it's happened on plenty of other storms. It was just the first one that popped into my head, but there's plenty of examples. But models tend a lot of times over do. So you can see here that's 500 and 700. You can see how it's a stacked low pressure system. It's a stacked from 500, 700, and so on to 850. So it will be a very big storm for them. It'll be a very big storm for them. Again, appreciate everybody in YouTube. Hit that like if you haven't already. Appreciate everybody on X. Keep throwing your questions in there. I'll get to them. We'll cover the specific details, even though you really can't get too specific quite yet. It's just because we're so you guys don't realize how far out we still are. A lot of people, I think, forget. Um, we're really a lot of people didn't really get too much from the last system back December 20th that we tracked, and a lot of people forget how much of an eternity we still are away from the system. So in regards to this though, and a stronger system would make this a little bit more expansive likely. Now it's different. The location and the angle of this block as well will play a factor in regards to that as well. A stronger block located farther east would likely kind of shunt this further south and pull this confluence in a little bit more. A stronger, farther block further west likely allows us to be able to be a little bit less pressed on, and be able to strengthen even a little bit more. But I mean, it can only get so much stronger, really, based on what it's already going to do. It's going to kind of stack and stall and kind of get into the flow of the current system. You can see that's moving through currently the system that provided thunderstorms for a lot of people last night, and snow now today for interior places with elevation. And so this comes up to the north here, and we see an interaction between these two systems, and that's a messy, complex thing for models to handle as well. This is a large system. You notice what's the biggest thing on the screen right here? It's this system. So this is going to drive, and it's going to influence the pattern that plays out after as well. This is a huge part. Our block up here in Greenland, and along with this large system, how these two interact is really going to play a part in the pattern. The western ridge will be another factor later on after, which we'll dive in. We'll dive into that as well. But if I slide back here, so this is all we can see, right? This system amplifies, it becomes a very strong storm, and confluences are very volatile. So I would take a guess. I'm going to take a leap here that this confluence piece not only has room to go further north, which it does, it has room to go further south too. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted whatsoever. This thing can come further south potentially. But given I think there's only so much more room that it can come south. I think there's more room for this to come further north than further south, in my opinion, based on kind of the reasons I just laid out. So I'd see how much farther north this confluence piece can make it out. I think it does shift a little bit further north if I were to take a shot, but I'm not. I'm not fully confident. It's a real messy interaction, and that could be real volatile. You can see it's even connected a little bit up to the polar vortex, the system as well. Look at the connection here. You see how messy this is, and this is just yet to happen. In our upper level energy, look how this is still 2 days out, and it's just coming ashore now. Now it's about 2.5 days until our full energy comes ashore, and we're fully sampled. And that plays a massive factor, and then more comes in after on the backside into our system. So there's a lot of different factors at play. It's not like it doesn't happen on other systems as well. You just have to re-highlight the uncertainties. There's no prize for being in the modeled snowfall maps 4.5 days out. Nobody gets a prize for that. Nobody gets anything for that. There's nothing. I can't stress it enough. I would have had 12 blizzards in the last like 3 years if for the amount of times 4.5 days out we've been in the modeled snowfall maps. I'm just spitballing, but you get the idea. There's no prize for being in the jackpot this far out. It's not to say it's not where it's not going to show up, but I really want to allow y'all to realize we're still so. It's in it like 4.5 days basically is where we are. Is an eternity. It's an eternity. It's so far out. I mean, that was the P-type map for that run. That was the P-type map for that run. I do think there's an area of sleet of concern to watch out too for this area, right here. You can see on it, it's highlighting it. I think there's opportunity for it to be some significant icing potential too for places in the south and across the Ohio Valley. I would keep it. I'd keep an eye on that as well. But there's a lot of opportunities for movement here. I think with this system now. That being said, you do have your block. You do have your block up here, so this does have a limit technically. Um, but I know the way I phrased it on one of those tweets, but there's nothing that can say that this confluence piece won't be able to push further. I think there's more room for this to push further north than push further south, and that's what leads me to kind of push towards this, expanding some of the model area and being able to look at that kind of not just DC is obviously in it, but Philly. I think New York City needs to keep an eye on it. I'd monitor in Southern New England. You need some changes to happen, and you can't just completely disregard what the models show. You have to respect what they do have. So I can't just go out here and say Southern New England is definitely going to get. I just can't. At the same time, I'd say somewhere farther south, even down to Richmond, is still at play to be able to get something out of this as well. If that confluence piece is able to hold on stronger and a little bit further south. It's really small differences. The confluence piece, every minor tick makes a huge difference for this. It's I wouldn't say double, but maybe close is like the equivalent change. So every little tick on that confluence piece makes a significant difference. And even then, you can see the snowfall on this run gets up to here. That's kind of where your highlighted area for snowfall would be on the GFS. And that was a full tick south from earlier from the 18Z. But you can see completely different in the timing and how much more progressive. Like it was just a complete it's hard for me. I don't know what to do with this run because it was so completely is not even close to the same. Completely different with the timing, the evolution, way different. So it's just a complete curveball from the GFS on that run in regards to where all the others have been. So yeah, so that's kind of those are my thoughts on that system. We're in tracking range, but we're more than plenty far out, still with this system. So I would advise significant caution when especially looking. I wouldn't look at a snowfall map right now. I mean, you can look at them, but I wouldn't. I would. It's like whatever you do, whatever you want. But I would not hold. I would not hold any weight on snowfall maps right now. I think there's like an 8+ ceiling with this system, but it's more like a several to half foot kind of. I think general potential with this one rather than I don't think this is. I don't think it's a widespread like 8 to 14 or something like some of the models are showing. I would kind of lean against that. I don't think there's a super high ceiling with this system. Now, if it is able to pull further north, and if there is enough stream separation between those two, then we could see maybe a little bit of a, and then we see that, and we are seeing a transfer take place later. Now there could be a prolonged period of snowfall, of moderate snowfall, and then that allows you to be able to get, a higher significant total. But if this thing is, if it's able to get, if it gets caught in the flow too quickly, then that will especially limit that ceiling as well. So there's a lot of different factors in regards to that as well. The euro, we can look at that as well. That is not out yet for 0Z. You guys got your. I'll scroll through the questions too, but you can start throwing those in there. We'll talk about them in a second. But the euro, as you can see, a little bit further north with the system, right? You can see where it pulls it. pulls the system all the way up into here. The extent of the snow and really puts the brunt of the snow in this area on that run. So that was the 18Z Euro, the latest Euro run. Yeah, there we go. So Ashan, how are we doing, my man? Uh, Yeah, that's another thing. People, like a lot of times, especially when you have different regions that are in play, a lot of people start like trying to defend their forecast so like they can get snow. It's like it's common. Everybody wants snow. It's not crazy. I get it. You want snow, so you're gonna list the reasons why you can get it. Um, it's not uncommon, but you just got to look at it for what the pieces are and highlight what's possible. That's really it, and that's how you got to play it out. And Euro is we can compare it. See, this is 114. We'll go North America. We'll go zoomed out, and we'll go North America zoomed out here as well. Da, da, da. 500, 114. 114 as well. Well, so the GFS was a little quick with the flow on the last one, and the euro is more amplified. Now, this is a system where the GFS, will definitely GFS will always have a little bit weaker of a bias here. Notice a little bit more amplified. These heights are this is 114, and that's not the same time frame. 108 is the right time frame because it's 6 hours ahead. So the GFS really pulled back on this run. It's a little bit more sheared, and the confluence is a bit higher on the euro as well, and that really changes things. You can see from OZ to 18Z, the GFS as well. That confluence piece, it shifts a good 75, 100 miles, and it makes a huge difference. Really, that confluence piece is even more. And here's even a stream interaction already happening at this point with the GFS on the last run. So there's gonna be there's gonna be some back and forth here on models, but really at the end of the game, it's the confluence piece that really is what plays the factor. This thing right here, this confluence is north of Maine, southern New England gets involved. New York City, Philly really can get a real good can get into that heaviest bulk of precipitation. Kind of close to what you see here. And this is still 4 days out. Let's see where we trend. 4.5 days out almost. It's over 4 days out. See where we go. See where we go from here. So that's the P-type map on the Euro 18Z. You can see that's just a rough idea. So for those that don't follow the 500 millibars too well, even though we highlighted it out. But again, these are going to be messy. They're not perfect. Like you can see, there's not a high pressure here. It's the confluence of the system behind. And again, that plays a huge factor. I mean, the thing I advise though, remember, that means the models do love to really bomb out and hold the stall a lot of times with some of these systems, sometimes for too long. Sometimes for too long here. And that could potentially allow that confluence to go farther north here. Confluence would be further south, but you get the point. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. All right, let me read some X chats. You think DC is in a good spot? DC is in a decent spot. DC is in a decent spot here. It could drastically change though. It could drastically change. Yeah, I mean, Southern New England. We talked about Talked about that. You think we'll go even further north where Baltimore mixes with sleet, or instead of Baltimore, I think will be a little bit harder to go a full on sleet. I think Baltimore should be able, bearing anything drastic, you know, Baltimore should have an opportunity to be able to hold for at least some snow in a minimum. DC could be a little bit different though. DC, there's a path where this goes to crap. I think, even though Baltimore is not so far away. So I guess theoretically, Baltimore, this could be a mixer, but um, you could be right in the bullseye potentially too. So keep it. I keep an eye out for that. Okay, let's read the chat here. Tom, how much snow can you expect in DC? You kind of just talked about DC. If you bullseye, there could be an opportunity for over a half foot of snow, but we'll keep, you know, we're still pretty far out. Um, so that don't get too attached to what you see on models right now. Have you heard of crab? What are you guys talking about? Tom's mom. I sense 100-mile north trend next few days. Yeah, maybe, maybe. Masson, Connecticut gonna win. Yes. Who will win? Who will win, Ashan? It's a good question. Um, yeah, but this does play a part. This sets up what happens after. Sets up what happens after. So I really haven't looked at this GFS run beyond that though. So we can look at thoughts on Philly, New Jersey. I think Philly's in a pretty decent spot in my opinion. Philly's one of those. For me, I think Philly's got like the highest, might have the highest margin for error to at least get accumulating snow. Even if you weren't to bullseye, um, Philly has enough room for where you can be on the northern fringe and still get some good accumulating snow, and be on the southern edge, and still get accumulating snow bearing a farther northern trend. But as we progress out, things get a little bit. This is where things start to get messy here. This is where things start to get real messy, and we're watching that time frame for something. Models are consistently showing something, but it's really hard to pick apart, especially so far out. One thing, obviously that's not going to get it done based on what's shown now, but what we do need to figure out is the Western Ridge out here, and that will be key. The strength and the placement of that, and then our block beyond that. So our block up here in Greenland will be critical. Is this able to fill in here, slide back up a little bit? Is this Western Ridge back off as well? That's kind of what I'm looking at. Allow our upper level energy to sit in a little bit further west. Allow that trough to get going further west and get more stream separation as well, and that allows the door open then for a big snowstorm. It's really too far out to be able to identify. I really don't think, some will say differently. I really don't think you've gone so far in this time frame to where you can't get something to pull up the coast theoretically. I know you've seen a lot of model runs hitting, like the south and stuff. And shows it again, and just because there's some consistency with that so far out, that really doesn't mean anything this far out. It really doesn't. And they might, and the southeast might end up, getting this, but that doesn't mean the northeast or mid Atlantic or wherever doesn't get involved. It's really just a matter of where eventually would this upper level energy go? How much is it? There's almost way too much to break down. My man, I just talked about DC. Um, so you can keep throwing the same question, but I just did talk about DC. Um, in this upper level energy gets, if how much is it able at 500? How much is it able to get more out ahead? And how much can this sit back? This Western Ridge will be an important factor. We would need this to back off a good amount. Well, man, you keep throwing the same question in. You keep throwing the same question in. I said DC's at play to get something. They could bullseye and get like over a half foot, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. There's a lot of wiggle room still. Totals. You want snow totals 4.5 days out from a system. That's just unrealistic. But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on this time frame um, as well. This kind of January 10th to 12th, 13th, 9 to 13th. I've been calling it kind of somewhere in that range. Um, it's a little bit tricky to say as of now, but it will really depend on, that was, I guess, a decent run to run change, but a lobe of the polar vortex gets involved as well. But it will be key to see how much stream separation, can we kind of get here. Can we get the system to pull out a little bit further north as well and east? Can we get this out of the way and allow something to sit back further? But I'm really hesitant on really tracking this. You can't, well, first of all, you wouldn't be able to track it anyways as far out, but getting into such specific details because I want to know what we're working with, kind of all the pieces on the table first, like we can now with the January 6th system. But this one's a little tricky. This one's a little tricky, and some more than patience is going to be required to figure this out. I know a lot of people kind of have their thoughts already, and like it's winter's over. Well, it's like it's the same stuff regardless of the good or bad winters. It's the same. It's the same stuff. Every winter. What is causing that explosion of precipitation in Missouri and Kansas before heading this way? With this system, you can look at here at 500. You can see it taps. It's starts tapping into the Gulf of Mexico here. And starts and you got the Pacific too. You have moisture sources nearby, and it's a strong upper level low. So you're going to start pulling in moisture with this system um, out ahead, and it's going to wrap because it's going to amplify and close off, become a pretty strong storm, and you're going to see some impressive snow totals out there too. Look at the 700 Bort signature. There's going to be some pretty big totals out there in the Midwest. Wouldn't be surprised if there were thunder snow and stuff out there too. Where regardless of where that sets up, you have a lot of mid-level energy that consolidates on top of 500. 500 and 700 stack, and you get a pretty strong storm out ahead. And then that confluence and the storm out ahead kind of tears it apart. So what you get is you get kind of a band of you'll see basically just a large swath in width of a banding that sets up across wherever mid Atlantic Northeast, still TBD, but that's kind of the rough idea. It's complicated. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors on the table, and we just got to be patient. We got to be patient. Whatever happens, happens. There's no guarantee for. Was anybody trolling? I didn't think anybody's trolling. They're just getting their messages off. It's fine. But yeah. So again, this becomes complicated. You can see there's a lot of different factors at play, like we talked about, but it is going to get messy. So the question again becomes then, where does and that's actually not that's not a terrible. This is not as bad of a look as it looks here. You just the polar vortex kind of suppresses, and you're just not able to get enough stream separation on this. But that's not necessarily a terrible look there. That's not a terrible look. That's the right direction you want to head in if you were to look down the road. It's exactly what you want to do. even though in theory, if I this is one of the more times I would say 500 height would be a better tool than 500 millibars for looking at some of the run-to-run changes with that. It's complex though. It's complex. It's even some of it's beyond my true understanding. And then I would keep a time. I would start. I don't say a storm signal, but start keeping an eye 14th, 15th down the road too. We're gonna keep highlighting some of these longer range. Some of the pattern actually starts to look decent, but if this storm is stronger, a little bit farther back, that might make it more difficult. But you get your western ridge to actually relax at some point, it seems, on ensembles potentially. Again, this is so a little bit up in the air, but you notice some models are showing that over Alaska, it cools down. What it actually does is for a trough to potentially drop in, and that could potentially allow, and you still have kind of this. We'll see what the block would look like at that point, but that could allow an opportunity to keep an eye on something down the road as well, down the East Coast, that 14th, 15th time frame in the long range. That's not an operational thing. That's on ensembles as well. Happens to show show something there as well on that run. But keep an eye on that. I don't know. Let's see. Let's have some fun in the long range here on the GFS. A little bit. I don't know. Not far enough out. A little bit though. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out down the line for something maybe. There's a lot, again. There's just so many moving parts. I get people want answers. I do too. I believe me. I would love a all out snowstorm here from Florida to Maine. That's what the dream is for everybody here. But realistically, it's not going to happen like that. There's going to be a lot of different storms to probably track over the course of the next couple weeks, and it's going to be a lot of. I'm telling you, some people are going to get scarred from tracking, for good or for bad. And it happens, just you make stuff you can't promise in terms of storms. A lot of people like to be first when it comes to doing, snowfall maps and all that stuff. And it's not about being first. It's about that night before, or the morning before the night of, or whatever. It's about having the right forecast for that person. And that's kind of the idea, and highlighting all those scenarios before, at least in my opinion. Some people, they can make a map, and I credit those people that can make a map like 5 days out, and it ends up being somewhat accurate. But I'm not that special. I need to be able to highlight, break down all the scenarios, and have my suspicions of where it might head. But I'm not anywhere near capable of doing that, and most aren't able to at least effectively do that as well. It's very difficult. All right. Has the euro come out yet, OZ? Or is it going to take a minute? Nope, not out yet. All right. We got more questions about the Mid-Atlantic Northeast storm. I guess Midwest technically too. The real thing is it's. Let me slide to. I want to talk about one more factor with this storm. If you have more questions, throw them in. Where do I want to go? Oceanic. It's just, models are really loving. Again, that thing strong. See how strong were models getting that thing before. Yeah, we'll see. Sorry, I get quiet when I start focusing. Dita, don't worry. Um, this is a huge factor. This is a huge factor in how this plays out. You have your block again over the top here, and you have this large bowling ball of a system, and it's this confluence piece that extends out that plays the factor, and it's also your vort that comes in here, which we can trace back to this weekend. Notice that we can trace that back to this weekend, and that ends up working to press this confluence out. So that's a significant factor in how this plays out. Also note the confluence also kind of helps amplify the system in a sense as well. It kind of gets caught in the flow almost, shears it the edge piece, and you almost see a new edge of the confluence form here. Notice this originally, and this kind of gets brought into the system here. So I'd keep an eye. That's a sneaky little thing to keep an eye on as well. Yeah, so that was the euro. That was the euro, and looked at the GFS. I guess we can look at the Canadian. I have not looked at the Canadian yet. I don't know. Canadian has not done well. The RGM does better in the short range. The Canadian itself, though, has not been hot in my opinion. Let's see. Is the icon the only one to pull that? Or let's see here. Okay, the GM's a little bit different on this one as well. It's also holds back the energy a little bit more. Brings that confluence a little bit further south on this run as well. At least I think so. Am I wrong? Yeah. I mean, it's just a little bit more held back. The energy is. Upper 500. Let me double check. Yeah, it's well, the confluence is actually shorter on this run. So notice this is shorter. Confluence doesn't extend out as much. So even though it's not necessarily further north. See how the confluence, the tail end is a little bit shorter. And so it does kind of allow, even though the other confluence up here. So this is why it's complex. It's just this, and the edge part of the confluence backs off a little bit more and allows our storm to come up here. So here, this edge of the confluence actually drops a little bit further south, but this lobe here, the tail edge of this system, again connected to this weekend system, this makes it this system comes in, again spins all around, and let's play it back. Follow that system. Right here, follow this piece. Look how fun this is to watch. Watch it spin. Now it's there. Now it's here. 60 hours out. Follow the storm we're playing. Now it's here. So you can see it's all connected. The current weekend storm ends up going into this upcoming storm and plays a significant role. This piece here ends up being that tail end confluence piece. It ends up going almost to the same spot. It's going to do a little loop-de-loop. Watch the loop-de-loop it's going to do here. Whee! So it spins all the way around and works at the tail edge of the confluence. And models are going to show a different variation with that every time as well. Yeah, I don't know why some people are spamming, but that's fine. I'll be able to see your messages. Don't worry. Alpha, welcome upstate Lake Show. So that's what you can see here. Like it's a little bit different variations on each run. GFS. That's the question. How long is our confluence piece going to be, and how strong is this confluence piece going to be as well in the tail end? That's another thing I'd watch. This is a real the confluence. I know we keep saying it, but it's the key. It's literally the key to this system. How strong is this confluence piece going to be? It's directly connected in here to our system as well. It directly wraps in here, the tail end here, for all the way here, this trough. And so that plays a significant factor, the strength of it as well, in determining. So you have another storm that's going to want to push in after, how far it's going to be able to push up as well. So this makes things complicated here, and there's just I can't stress it enough. I know people want answers, but this thing could easily move hundreds of miles. I don't think it can move the same south that it could north. As we've highlighted, but this thing could move hundreds of miles north theoretically. I don't know how much more it would be able to move, but this thing could easily move hundreds of miles north if it wanted to. It would just depend on the exact placement and strength of this confluence piece here. Right here, it's almost a double. Sits right into our storms. Our current storm that's moving through now, we talked about, it's produced thunderstorms last night and rain and snow today for people. And then this January 4th Newfoundland blizzard as well. This one right here. So these are the key points. Those are the key points to follow with this system. And really it will directly affect, yes, it will directly affect how this sets up the rest of the pattern. But it doesn't define it completely. I've had that question asked as well. It will not directly define everything that happens beyond that. And I can't stress it enough. A lot of I know some people, regardless, even if this one, regardless of if the January, like, what is this, 9th to 13th, we've kind of defined it as, at least I have. Even if this one, let's say models were correct 9 days out, 10 days out, whatever, for once in their lives, they did a half decent job. There's still another one there's still more to come after. Like there's still more opportunities after. So don't get it twisted. The pattern's not ending anytime soon. I'd say there's at least another two, like there's going to be at least a full 2 weeks here of action to potential for things to track. So the winter is not, we're just getting started here. It's January 1st. It's January 1st, people. Be patient. Be patient. So there's plenty of time. Say DC, the storm pulled 100 miles north and you weren't able to get into it and you missed out, then you would have more opportunities after. Same goes for, like Maine or South Carolina, even, all along the eastern seaboard, there's going to be opportunities here. You just got to be patient. You just got to be patient. Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed when it comes to winter, but you got to be patient. And what you also guys listen, if you guys hold any weight into what I say, which I would only hold so much because I'm just one person with some decent information. I just track the stuff hard. I'm not a genius whatsoever. But if you hold any weight into what I say, I would stop over analyzing all of these models so far out in advance. I know it's been a minute since there's been a big winter storm. You have to go back to last winter. And for some people in DC, it's been years. But you need to stop over analyzing models so ridiculously. You need to stop. It's going to kill you. You're looking at P type maps and surface maps of snowfall and precipitation 4 to 6 days out in advance of a system. And it's just it's never gonna be like that. It's never the totals, the placement, the northern the snow shield. It's never gonna be 100% right. And you like a lot of people, like, they go back and and first of all, 2 runs is not a trend either. Two runs is not a trend either. This hasn't really started whatsoever yet for any significant systems, but a shift and then another shift is not a trend. And it's just not. It's like a couple of runs in a row of something happening, or one run. One run change is most definitely not a trend. I've seen that mentioned before. One run or 2 run is like barely a trend. What you do is you check back in every night and you see where you were the night before. What changed? How much were you different the night before? Now, sometimes one run can be the start of a new change. It can be, absolutely. But you got to know, what changed from night to night. So if we're doing that, let's say for this system, OZ to OZ now, you can see there were some changes. You can definitely see there were some changes. That confluence piece kicked a lot farther north, and our system got further out ahead here on the Canadian. And the Canadian only runs twice a day as well, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I love having all the models to look at, even the 6 hour intervals. I love it, being able to break it down, but sometimes I wish it wasn't. Sometimes when I feel like it. Just kidding. But we'll go back to the GFS. Zero Z, and we can't even go back to OZ last night, but you could go to O6Z, OZ. That was your confluence piece. Look how much stronger it was too. But OZ tonight. Now your confluence is not only weaker, it's also farther north. That's the day-to-day change from OZ from O6Z. OZ I know is even farther. We can go to OZ GFS. Or maybe it was. I don't know. I can't even remember 12 hours out in advance of model runs. Whoa, why'd I get pulled in so far? There's one day it's harder. Man, why can't I? that OZ? There we go. There's OZ last night. Yes, I believe. Yes, there's OZ last night. Oh wait, did I go back too far? What the hell? Oh, that's because I'm in my January 2nd. There we go. So that's where we were. And that's where we are now. Note the changes. So that's not even ridiculous, but every minor change with the confluence does end up making a difference. I mean, I guess that there's their confluence. Trying to draw it. There's the southern edge of your confluence right there. And look at this peak the strength as well. And now that piece out here, and this is flatter as well. This is a new added wrinkle kind of. This is real weak though. So you can see we've moved. Sizable change from OZ last night to OZ tonight, even with the southern whatever shift run to run. So it's just like I like to point out you can overanalyze some stuff within the day. A lot of people like think there's trends happen within the day. It's not necessarily the case. OZ is starting to come out now. Let's do the same with the euro. OZ last night, and 18 Z, whatever, it's fine. There's that main edge of that confluence. Oh, motherfucker. Didn't mean to swear, didn't YouTube. I try not to swear on YouTube. Couldn't hold it in. Oh, it's fine. Where was I? How far out was I? OZ. Where was I? Here. Is that it? I think it was 132. 18Z. Oh. Here, let's. Come on, buddy, be better. Draw it more accurately. And there's your shift. And notice the angle too of the confluence a little bit more spiked up. And so that was the change, I guess. We'll see the OZ what the OZ euro does, but the icon was literally, I think, the only one to pull. So I was curious if the icon was going to lead do what the others did. You can see with the icon. I'm not a big icon guy, but does pull the angle of the confluence. And pulls it as a whole further north. So the angle of the confluence too, if this is it gets a little bit, a little bit wavier and spiked up a little bit, that's also going to allow the system to come in as well. And where that angle would happen to would be critical. Farther back here, or if it was here, which would be preferable if you want to drive the precip shield further north, or here as well. So this is why I say there's so many. Think about all the different little details that we've now kind of pinpointed. So there's just a lot of different details to go on here, and icons one of farther north solutions at the moment, but there's just a lot. There's a lot of different factors at play here. A lot of different factors. So keep it. We got to keep an eye. We got to keep an eye on a lot of different things. A lot of different things. So patience is key. Patience is key. Let's get this euro cooking out. Let's pull up some of the. Take a look at the GEFS too. Why not? I'm crazy. I'm crazy run around change. Okay, let me get Senior Euro cooking. Look at the Euro AI too. Okay. Let's see. Looks like it's going to hold the energy a little bit further back, maybe, or it's a little bit more amplified. Let's see. This is our storm. Here's your storm right here. Here's the blizzard that's going to form up here. Again, regardless of what this shows, it's not going to be life or death for regardless of where you live, whether you're in Philly, DC, Baltimore, New York City, Newfoundland, wherever you're living. It won't matter. Won't matter too much at the end of the day, because look, if we count out how many more model runs there are going to be, let's see. So there's going to be an 06Z tomorrow. Well, when's this coming? There. So let's say this thing comes 18Z Monday, whatever. Regardless if that's accurate, let's say you get 12Z. Let's see. So you get a 6Z run tomorrow, 12Z, and 18Z, an OZ run tomorrow, a 6Z, 12Z, 18Z, OZ, 6Z, 12Z, 18Z, OZ. When is that? Where does that get us to? Oh boy, I can't even count. And then what you got? A 6Z, 12Z, 18. Am I doing that right? The third, the fourth, the fifth, and this comes January 6th. So you got what? Still another 12, 15 model runs or whatever? 14, 15 model runs until we get there. That math doesn't seem right. You can do the better math than that. Oh no, it's January 2nd. That's January 2nd. The 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and here's the 6th. That's another like 18 model runs still. 18 model runs. So you want, you can go ahead and be the one to say that it's gonna what it shows now is right. But let's see if through 18 more cycles of models, if that same thing holds by the time we get to there. The farther you go out, what I'm about to show you, the same is not going to apply because as you get closer, things change. But if we were to go back 18 model runs ago, theoretically, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And I wanted to show the p-type, but I can't. No, go back. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That was 18 model runs ago. Now, granted, 222 hours out versus 120 hours out was not even close to the same thing. But that was 18 model runs ago. Let's see in 18 model runs if we're still there. Let's go. We'll go back only 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where you were 9 days ago, or 9 runs ago on the GFS specifically. As you can see, models change. The weather doesn't. The weather stays the same. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Just our perception of the forecast is all that changes. All right. Take a look, Mr. Euro. Confluence dropped south with the rest of the OZ guidance. The icon was a fake out, I guess. Confluence, the angle of the confluence especially, let's see. Gonna drop a little bit farther south, so probably expect it to come south as well on this run, bearing the edge of that confluence. Drops a little bit south. Well, it will probably come, but if we compare it to 12Z, it'll be about the same as 12Z if you think about it. So if there wasn't an off run, it'd be about the same as 12Z. Let's take a look at 12Z. Let's see what it was. I don't even remember. Guess that was the 12Z run, the p-type map there. If you're into that thing. I like showing the p-type map. I don't like the p-type map, but I like showing it to you guys because it helps relay what I'm seeing there at 500 as well, pretty easily. It's pretty easily to relay. Here's what I'm seeing at 500, and oh, this is why I'm seeing it. Show p-type map, and it's pretty colors too, right? So you gotta show it, even though I hate them at the same time, or I hate how they get used. I don't hate them. I hate how they get used sometimes. So yeah, so this will jump south a tick, but not a massive change in the overall energy profile. A little bit different in that in the GFS. So we'll see where we head here. We got a lot of model runs to go. There's still a lot of people in play to get some snow out of this. Again, um, I don't think it's a high ceiling event, so to say, but it's maybe maybe there's a swath of like 8 to 12, maybe, but it's still a little bit hard to say where exactly we're gonna see some of this stuff set up. I'll be curious to see where we do see this uh, where we do see the snow setting up, because again, I think it does play a factor on what happens for the rest of the pattern here. It does play a factor for what happens, but it's not the end of the world. I think for the rest of the pattern as well. There's no uh, end all be all. I think with this. I think another thing too is the angle of our block up north. I think will play a factor as well. I think that will, because if we look for the angle, so if this is farther pressing down farther, then that is going to press on our confluence as well. The angle of this is pushing further to the east, so to say. Our block lifts up a little bit further north, and that could allow our confluence to press back farther. So this will be tricky a little bit, figuring out the exact details of the block as well. But I think the strength of this storm, along with the combination of our block here, and then exactly when our energy comes ashore and what does it look like, those are all relaying factors. And then how that relates to the PV as well. Eventually, do we get a lobe of the PV after the system as well? How much do we get? Now we'll kind of define what happens going forward. But yeah, the Euro will not be quite as far north as it was on the previous run. We'll make DC people happy for at least OZ tonight. But let's see, was that just a run? Was that a run tick? Is it the start of a new trend? Is it the start of a there's what there's one run is does not mean everything. As I've tried to state many previous times. It's what, 114 hours out, 111, 108, whatever. Still 18 model runs to go until this system. 18. All right, so I like listing a lot of times. I've done it before. You list the amount of model runs that might happen, changes your perspective a little bit. You're like, oh, 18 is a lot. I didn't think about it like that. Even though you're getting closer, 18 is a lot of freaking model runs. It's a lot of model runs. That's why, look at the P-type map and you look at this. That's why somebody like, oh, I got asked earlier, why the expansion in preset? Well, when you look at 500, you'll notice that's why. Look at the upper level energy. Boom. Consolidates. Upper level low consolidates here. Now you start tapping into the Gulf of Mexico too, across the Pacific, with that moisture flow wrapping into your system here, and probably some severe weather risk with this as well. Here with this system. Yeah, some severe weather potential with that, potentially, yeah. Keep an eye on that. Depends on where, and just the same with tracking winter storms, same with tracking severe weather for where it could play out. Keep an eye on that to the south. Let's refresh here. Give me more euro. Here we go. And so it seems like I don't know. This is why I'm not a fan of the icon. Um, Went out for one time. I gave the icon not some love necessarily, but I gave it some screen time, and goes ahead and ugh. Okay. Oh, it's still not out yet. Let me go back to the GEFS quickly. Let's slide to the. I want to see why the icon did what it did. My initial is it's just poo poo. That's my initial take. Just could use that. Get that ridge to start. Um, this ridge to start backing off a little bit. Get this ridge to start backing off a little bit, and that's where you could start to to open up this time frame potentially more on at least on for what the models show, and we'll keep an eye on how that plays out. Still so far out, so far out. This freaking icon, man. What was the run to run change that made you? Yeah, the icon was the only one. Kind of shifts the block further, a little bit further east. Confluence gets lifted a little bit further north, just barely. Yeah, so it's minor tweaks on some of these models. It's minor tweaks, but they certainly make a difference. Let me slide here back to the euro. I won't get it done for that time. Too strong on the block there. Not enough screen separation either. or the ridge, I should say. Too strong on the ridge. Not the run to run change you want to see there, but if that were to happen, that would open up the next time frame after. So you would hate to push back a time frame, but would open that up. Many open potential time frames. So it's patience. Patience is required, and the ability to not make assumptions as well so far out. Don't assume conclusions too far out. It's important. You just get burned too many times. Too many times you get burned by trying to assume something, and yeah, a lot of people switch up too. They say when winter's over, and then when it does come, it's oh, we're so back. The true trolls are the ones that stay quiet when winter storms are hitting, and then oh, here's our sponsor. The true trolls are the ones that like come in when it like trends the wrong way for a snowstorm, and then are quiet, completely quiet when nothing's happening, or when it is happening. Look at this. Keep an eye on this after, regardless of what happens here. Notice how the ridging starts to build in here. Troughing does. This western ridge kind of starts to collapse potentially. And so keep an eye on that. You drop something in here, could allow for something to come on in after that time frame. Some of the models are starting to suggest that maybe that 14th to 15th down the road. So you can keep an eye on that. Take a look at the panels here for the GEFS. U.S. region, New England, Northeast panels. Okay, person. Look at that time frame as well, but more go back. Give you a general idea what models are doing. Is you can see there's some northerly solutions there still on the GFS. There's some even farther south solutions there on the GFS ones that give Virginia kind of the bulk, and a lot of DC to New York City ones though. Those are your GEFS ensemble panel members, all 30 members of the GEFS. Play it out there. You see them? Not bad. Not too shabby. There's the 10-to-1 snowfall. A little too early to talk about ratios yet. A little too early to talk about ratios. Let's figure out where the storm's heading first, and then we can talk about ratios. Yeah, those are your GEFS ensemble members there for the 6th. Oh, I said I would talk about the AI. Actually, supposed to look at the GraphCast too. Look at the GraphCast first. This is the 12Z GraphCast, by the way, because the GraphCast takes its sweet old time to come out. Forecast loop. Forecast loop. If you have questions on the pattern, long range, whatever, January 6th system, drop them in. See what you got. See, that was 12Z GraphCast. So, see what it does at OZ. It's hard to tell with the low resolution GraphCast, but keep an eye. It's got that system too, a little bit kind of shunted. It drops it in nice, but once that energy drops in, we would need that ridge to back off to get this time frame to hit. If you wanted to pull this up further north, realistically too, you get more streams. The more stream separation would be that would help both of those things as well. That'd be real nice. We'll see. We need some. Definitely we need some changes out here, but as we saw with the January 6th system, changes 9 days out from the last one too, so it can go either way. Let's see. No ensembles. Let's see if those things are getting out yet. Probably not. If I had to guess. Yeah, not yet. 18Z. But these are the 18Z EPS, so these will come a little bit further south. But these are, let's see, 1 through 25. Half the members here. See, a lot of those show that Philly to New York City and DC to New York City as well. Getting into it. One way you could potentially enhance totals further north, if you were to, is depending on the transfer and that tail edge of the confluence piece. That could play a part, and that tail edge of the confluence could potentially allow for some precip to fall behind a little bit and would potentially be a little bit north. So it almost worked a little like an inverted trough, not quite, but some of that precip is able to get held behind a little bit, and on that transfer when that happens, and that is one way you could potentially allow some precip to fall a little bit further north. And same thing could apply to the Mid-Atlantic too. Even if you were to mix theoretically in somewhere in the Mid-Atlantic, you could pull on the backside some snow in, some front end mix, backside, whatever, some sort of theoretical combination potentially. But again, it's a flat. This is a flatter system. It's not a low pressure system that's gonna go off the coast and drive up. It's firmly. This isn't something that's gonna just drive northward. Yes, it could shift northward, but it's not a system that's moving from south to north. I'm always curious to see how these model runs play out. I always like to see everything. Yeah, I see that. You got to keep an eye on that. Hey, look, it does kind of show something. 336 hours out. Hey, victory parade. But notice this wouldn't be a bad thing. Get your ridging that builds in kind of over Alaska again. Kind of erases that western ridge and then allows some opportunities to you to drop some troughs. But you would have to keep your wouldn't prefer you to wouldn't like to thread the needle though. It would like the block still remain in place, like is shown on more ensemble members. But you can see a little bit of a long range snow system. check in. Scroll up. I still don't know what Crab Legs Winston is, Mike Hoffman, but Jim the Weatherman. Oh, I missed your chat. Sorry. Oh, I did miss some chats. Wait, why can't? Sorry, I can't. I could not see your guys' chats. They did not load in. I thought I was going crazy. Um, that none of your chats are showing up. Can DC still see accumulating snow? Yes. Um, I wouldn't go crazy on Northern Trend. Let's see how it works out. Sorry guys, I could not see any of your chats. They weren't loading up. Yeah, you too, Alpha. Jade loves snow. Welcome, welcome, Jade loves snow. I don't think I've seen you before, so welcome. Appreciate it, Ike. I'm not the best, but let's see. Dun-dun-dun. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling through the chats now to see y'all. It wasn't updating. Welcome. Wild time. Yeah, pretty active weather. Everyone, don't buy these models showing no severe going to catch. Yeah, we'll hope so. No, never a guarantee. Yeah, okay, I'm scrolling through my chats here. Just got done watching Temp State versus Arizona basketball. Okay. Upstate Lake shows it. He thinks he'll get 6 to 12 inches between a couple of storms. So I hope you do, wherever you live. Let's see. Dun, dun. Yes, we are glad to have you come in, Jim. You did not miss it. Is this the first stream in the new year as well? So big times here. GWX 2025 is going to be big growth here. Regardless, the analysis will hopefully get better, but same concept will stay the same. We're not gonna change up over here. Keep getting better. Keep sticking to the analysis here. All right. OZX loading out. Yep, 2025. They'll load this stuff back. My chat's being poo-poo tonight. Oh yeah, I did mention to keep an eye on do keep an eye on Friday for some snow. Mid Atlantic to New York City. I'd keep an eye on that too. See if the Euro's onto it at all. A little bit right here. Friday night, keep an eye. Some mid-level, you can see at 700 here. Some dynamics do need to move through and get just enough moisture. So keep an eye on something here, kind of in this area. Friday night, for maybe a little bit of flakes, maybe a little bit of action. P-type map doesn't show it as well, but it's there. And this again, this system that moves through is going to end up being that big old powerful Newfoundland one. Alejandro, how are we doing? How's it looking for Western North Carolina? I'd keep an eye. I don't think this system is yours, but I'd keep an eye on the one after. I'd keep an eye on the one after. In January like 9th to 13th. I'd keep an eye on the 10th to 13th, whatever. I'd keep an eye on that. Kansas City is geez, it's way out of my forecasting range. So, but yeah, could be a close call. Could be a close call between mix and snow there. So I'd stay tuned. There's an opportunity for some significant accumulation of snowfall, but I mean, regardless, you have a really strong. I think the Midwest areas probably ends up getting the most snow out of this because look here at 500. This is when the storm will be the strongest, in my opinion. Least amount of press on it. This is when it gets a chance to kind of wrap up and close off. Um, and your upper level energy, I don't know, gets a little bit too far over. So you can't really be on top of the upper level low here and see snow. So really, kind of like south of here, it's going to be too difficult to really get snow. You got to be north of the upper level low, kind of always is, regardless. Otherwise, you're going to mix somewhere in the mid levels above the atmosphere, and so you need to be south of that. So the location of the upper level low will be key. If it were to pull like 18Z, it'd be a little bit more difficult to be able to make that happen because your upper level low goes right over most of the state, but then maybe on the backside you could get some as it pulls through. So regardless of what happens, you'll have an opportunity for snow as it moves through on the backside after. So you're definitely in play for some accumulating snow, regardless. Grapple, then no, not grapple. It would be probably sleet if you were to mix out there. Damn, I didn't know I was doing. I'm not a Missouri guy whatsoever, but glad you came in here. Hobgoblin. Yeah, this isn't. I mean, listen, you do have your confluence piece here. You do have that, but if I just look at this verbatim, if I were to look at this P-type map here, yeah, of course. Hopefully, I'm not. I can't say I'm the best Missouri forecaster. I'm definitely better for the eastern part of the country, but always welcome to come on in and can always give you a little mini forecast from Missouri. Um, out there by Kansas City. So whenever you want to come back in again, feel free to, or stay right now, whatever. Appreciate you for coming on in. Yeah, for new people, always too, don't feel like just because I can always give some thoughts on some general thoughts, even if you're kind of outside the eastern area of the country, but I'm always willing to give some thoughts. But what I was going to say is, if I were to just look at even a P-type map, and I were to look at this 105 hours out, and I were to look at this, I would be like, oh, this, even though like these areas could easily be in play. Same with farther south. Same with farther south. Like I really think like that's kind of the general area to keep an eye on. I think within here. But I would say there's definitely room for this. I mean, we're like almost just inside of 4.5 days, maybe. Just about a little over 4 days out. I mean, I don't need to remind you how much, it's a different setup. So this thing it's not coming off the coast and, complications with development. So once the energy gets on shore, you're not going to see too many crazy changes with that. But the confluence, you will continue to see changes with that. Once we get kind of here, I think once we get to Sunday, we should have a pretty clear idea, I think. I know that's the day before. But Saturday, so this weekend, things should start getting pretty clear. I know we're getting closer anyways, but really, I think, once that storm starts wrapping up there in Newfoundland and it becomes clearer, uh, once this thing wraps up, it's kind of around this time. Those 12Z runs on Sunday, I think we should get, we should have some pretty clear clarity at that point. These EPS. Nope, not far enough out yet. Can't look at the panels quite yet. We'll stay on for the panels. We'll stay on for the panels. Oh, Canadian on time. Interesting. I think you got to keep an eye down the road. There's still going to be more opportunities. So I know some people, just because the models don't show the long range, they show the long range snowstorm, you're excited, and then they take it away, and now you're not. And it's the long range. So when you just rely on the models that far out, it's just you're just riding the highs and the lows of the models, and you got to stay the course, and even through it, regardless of what's going to happen, for me, I have to stick to my process, and I got to weigh all the possible things that could play out, because Mother Nature has a mind of her own, and she's going to do what she's going to do. That's how it's going to play out. If she wants to pull the trigger on something, she's going to pull the trigger. There's nothing to stop her from doing what she's going to do. If we're going to personify the weather, she gets it done. She gets it done. So there's no telling for what's going to happen. But again, we can highlight what models kind of show now and talk about how it could change. So you mentioned here's what they show now, here's why they show what they show now, and here's how this could change. Here's what moving this chess piece will cause to the overall, or here's what moving this variable around will do to the equation. Yes, the models are full of equations, but the atmosphere is one big equation itself too. You change the variables at play, you change the setup, you change the equation, the end result of the equation. And there's certain things part of that equation that you need to get to happen in order to get the right answer, which we would call a snowstorm. If X, Y, Z, all your letters, all your different letters. And there are so many different factors that come into play. So patience is key, and you just gotta wait. You just gotta wait. Listen, I won't sugarcoat it. I want a big snowstorm to go up the East Coast as much as all of you do right now. Right? Think of that fantasy. You know how crazy like I used to. I don't really do this much anymore. When I was younger, when I was back in my prime developing youth weather days, when I was a kid, I used to. I, I'm still relatively young, but when I was a kid, I used to like imagine. I used to write hour by hour snowfall rates. I would used to and add it up at the end, and like when I was bored in a class or something, or I would write it up and I would and see how much snow it would be. My fantasy snowstorm in my imagination. That's how diabolical I am about some of this stuff. You know, doing your own weather forecasts. Just imagine just like that weird, dumb but fun kid playful imagination when I was younger. I want a big snowstorm as much as the next kid, or not as much as the next person. So, or kid, however old you are, doesn't matter. I don't really care how old you are, as long as you want a snowstorm. I'm on your side. Don't worry. But there's a certain level of you can't let that affect. You can't let that affect the forecast itself. You just got to call it as you see it. And now, don't get me wrong. On here, we're gonna highlight what is in need to happen so that you can get a snowstorm to happen, because that's what people that follow me care about. I'm not a straight. I don't have to abide by this is the daily forecast, and I don't have to hide my love for snow whatsoever. I can take the angle of this is how we can get a snowstorm because it's my channel. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean the forecasting and the analysis itself changes. That stays steady. As we let the EPS kind of roll out here, just want to see kind of how they play out here. Appreciate the new subscribers tonight. And I forget the name is that other person, but Sean was not flexing on it earlier. No, I've known Ashan for a while now. Ashan is a trusted member of the cult we have here. That's what you call it. There we go. Almost there. Almost there. hard to compare on some, but you get the panel and the picture and get some of these models to get laid out here. That's not bad. That's not a bad look right there. Long range GEFS. Oh, yeah, okay. It's the EPS starting rolling out. But hopefully, if Alejandro, sorry, I didn't say your name right. If you're still here, hopefully that answers your question for Western North Carolina, like I was talking about earlier. I would wait until after this system, and that's where your opportunities can start to open up. Oh, did not want to do that. Patience with the EPS here. Ugh, come on, I just need one or two more frames. Appreciate all of you here, X and YouTube as well. Did a good amount on X tonight. Some curious Mid-Atlantic folks and Northeast and even Southern folks now as we approach here later in the winter, closer, kind of almost in the pattern now, basically. Kind of in it. You can almost say now the cold air is coming in for many people. Have the upslope snow going on too currently. I'll have to check, see if I'm getting any flakes. It was pretty close to the edge. Temperature-wise, we weren't doing great though. Yeah. Take a check out. Just close, but not close enough. This is where the snow's setting up right now. Our man, if anybody knows him, Vermont Mitch out here. Vermontster. See if how much snow my man can get out here. One of the rare Southern Vermont WX Twitter people we have out there in the mountains. He's like our only one, basically. So he's our good source. He comes up with, he's like 2,000, he's like over like 2,200 feet of elevation. I went out to Woodford one time, actually, where he lives. Not at his house, but went out there by Chase one time. Awesome. That was saw 4 or 5 inches of snow. It was like a rain of snow. It was actually the same day the tornado outbreak happened. The mini tornado outbreak happened in southern New England, and Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, and it was the other side of the system. I went and chased the snow with that. It's crazy. He had thunder snow on camera. I missed it somehow. Another thunder snow where it happened, and I missed it. It's fantastic, but. In this current radar, you can see we got snow going on out here right now, and lots of lots of it. You got your lake effect band. Look how far that lake effect band's extending out, almost making it to Allentown. And then you have another lake effect band. There'll be some big lake effect totals here. Big lake effect totals over these areas over the next couple days ago, like we mentioned. But yeah, some accumulating snowfall here. May not look like a lot on radar, but there's definitely some accumulating snowfall going on in these areas right now. Over here, closer, a little less farther interior places. So, getting out there. Let's see it. This model pulling a little farther north on this 1 through 25. Here. Oh, 26 through 50's got more farther north numbers, but see how many further south too. Yeah, some good Virginia hits in there as well. Even a North Carolina one. But we knew the GFS yesterday showing the North Carolina. We knew that was probably a little far-fetched. But yeah, I'm gonna lean towards this coming further north. I'm gonna lean towards this coming further north. You know, and I really think Philly, New York City, DC. Those are kind of the areas I would favor more for this system. But we'll see how this plays out. It could even theoretically go further north, but I'd pump the brakes on that for now. But that's kind of the general idea. Pretty good way to start the pattern off, in my opinion. Here, got a nice little, got a nice little cross country snowstorm that's gonna put some snow down for a large part of the country. Get some snowpack in place, and the cold air is going to keep the snow around too for whoever sees it, which is the good news. So we're not gonna see that go anytime soon, which is, you love to see that for whoever gets the most snow here. But I appreciate I think we'll be able to go live tomorrow night as well. If not, it would be something at a minimum, but we will keep following what's going on here, and we'll keep you updated here on X and going live on YouTube as well. I like to post those notifications, let you know when I plan on going live. But again, it's always a blast, and we're gonna keep following this here. Be patient. Be patient. The pattern is not locked in by any means. The pattern's locked in. The details are not. Stay tuned.